And there were days when my life felt prearranged. And it was like a hard time.
Brett Benton. I actually got it right. I was trying to call you every name in the book
Right.
here a few minutes ago, but thanks for stopping.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this
Thanks
kind
for
of
having me.
came together yesterday. Are you going bear hunting?
Yeah, yep. I'm headed up north, kind of towards the border. Pretty much when I leave here. I mean, I don't know if I'll start hunting right away. Got a lot of friends up that way that I'll stop and see first, you know. And I still gotta go get my tag.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
So you know, I got some errands to run.
Yeah. So what has it been? TAC, I think, last year that I saw you.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Big
It's been
Sky.
basically a year, 11
Almost.
months or whatever.
Yeah.
We first met. I was trying to think last night when we first met, and I think it was at TAC at Park City. Or
think
not
so.
Park City, Snowbird.
I
Was it
think
I
so.
think it was Snowbird because Dudley and I were camped next to each other, and then you came by with Matt Best from Black Rifle,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's
you guys
right,
rolled up
man.
to our campers late, and you brought
Right.
your guitars, and
Yeah.
you guys were playing guitars outside the camper, and there was actually like a Snowbird, like worker dude, like security guy or something that was like a hell of a guitar player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we like stopped and started playing. And he was giving John a few lessons because Dudley was trying to learn. And
Right. You know, first of all, I love Dudley, right? I met him in Michigan at TAC. So like background, you already know, but background, I was playing music for BRCC at the TAC events. Tier
yep,
is the one who put me on that. And I'll get into how I met him later, but
yeah.
I actually listened to y'all's podcast on the way over here.
Oh, really?
This morning. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was super good. But yeah, Dudley in Michigan, like, you know, we're playing and we're just throwing down, doing what we do, and in the middle of a song, I'm like in the middle of singing. Dudley comes up and he's like, "You guys are fucking awesome." You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man." And you know, I meet him later after the show, and like right off the jump was like, "Hey man, like keep in touch, use my number," you know, like, "Oh, cool. Thanks,
Yeah.
man." And later he told me that he went and bought a guitar because he was so inspired by that show that he saw that day.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if he was just blowing smoke up my
No,
ass.
I
or
don't
not.
think he was. You have such a unique sound. Like
Thank you.
your
Thank
your
you.
guitar sound it was wild because like I was watching, you know, Matt watching you play, Dudley was watching you play, and we're just
Right.
sitting outside the camper on a couple Yetis,
Yeah.
and it was like 1 a.m, and you guys are like, it was amazing to me because you could just like make your guitar do anything you wanted to, and I have such a
Yeah.
respect because like I don't have a musical bone in my body.
Right.
Like I played
Right.
drums in the pep band in high school, and I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure I probably sucked at it. But like reading music or playing music, and I always think to myself, I'd love to learn, but like I can't remember even the words to my favorite song. Like I
Yeah.
could not remember words, or
Yeah.
like I got such a terrible memory.
Right.
But when I see somebody play a guitar and just like they're completely into it, they're not thinking about what they're doing, and just like it just happens, it's unbelievable.
Right. You know, ever since I was a kid, really, I was very drawn to music. And so the kind of music that I play is called hill country blues, or just country blues, really kind of encompasses the whole genre, but it comes from northern Mississippi. You know, I'm born and raised in southern Alabama, like northern Florida, southern Alabama, right next to Mississippi. So I grew up hearing that kind of music.
Did your parents play? Like, how did you
Mm-mm.
get into playing?
Just kind of wanted to. I actually started out playing drums, and I was probably 13 or 14, and I played drums for a couple years, and I was also in the middle school band. And then I decided I wanted to play bass for whatever reason, and I played bass for about 9 months. And after 9 months, I was worse off than when I started, and so I was like, this isn't working.
Really?
And so then I switched over to guitar and just never looked back. I took guitar class in high school, failed.
Really?
You know, yeah, because I didn't want to do what we were being taught.
Right, right.
You know,
It is interesting. I was thinking of this the other day. I was listening to Rogan's podcast with who's the country music singer, kind of big chubby guy, big thick dude. God dang.
like super famous.
Yeah,
dude, Luke Combs.
Luke Combs.
Yeah,
So Luke Combs was on there, and he was talking about how he got into singing because he was in like the choir in high school, and like basically his teacher like kind of goaded him into. She was just like, "You have to do this. You have to like be in our choir or whatever." And like he wasn't even totally into it. Like he really didn't even get into music and stuff like that much until like after high school. But I always had the attitude, I've kind of always had it, even with like my kids, and like, why in the hell do they have to do freaking band, or why the hell do they have to do choir? Like, my kid doesn't give a shit about choir.
Right.
But it's not really for that kid. Like there are so many people that discovered that had no idea going into choir or band class in eighth grade that it would trip a trigger, or that they might come back to it later in life, or like they didn't even know they were good at it. And all of a sudden their teacher's like, hey, because like his teacher was like, hey, you can really sing. And he's like, really? He didn't even know. And, you know, if making a kid do a year of choir and a year of band or a semester or whatever, if all that means is that once in a while the kid's going to like find their passion, it's probably worth it. You know?
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like, you know, I kind of played like to start, you know, just kind of messing around. And some of my friends down there, I was living in Pensacola, Florida at the time, and a lot of my friends had started to play music live, like starting to play shows. And, you know, I'd be at their houses and be playing too, and they're like, man, you should just go for it. You should just go for it. And I'm like, you know, all my friends are encouraging me. I'm like, well, maybe I will go for it. And I told my ex-wife about it. And she was like, yeah, you know, you should do that. And then she's like, you could find another wife if you decide to do that. And I was like,
really?
Yeah. We didn't get along very well.
So that's what you did.
Well, eventually, yeah, I found another wife. Yeah, but current wife, super cool. But
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, but I talk about that though with the knife stuff that we're doing now. Like, you have to have the right partner to do things that require a lot of passion and time, and especially when has to be some belief, because in the beginning of it, there's very likely no money in it.
Right.
Like, even starting MKC, like, you know, it's late nights, early mornings, weekends, giving up time, you know, investing money into something that, you know, was kind of a belief, but like, this probably isn't going to go anywhere, or might not go anywhere.
Sure.
So it takes kind of a special partner to be like, no, you should buy that guitar and you should go play with your buddies at the bar.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
That takes a special person to kind of see that you've got a gift or a talent.
Right. Well, I think even outside of that too, you know, it's just if you love someone and respect them, like, why not let them do something that you are passionate about? Well, you know what I mean? You know, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Or if it's like something super crazy too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a limit to how much money, like, before the spouse goes, okay.
Exactly.
Brett, you've had your shot.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We're done spending money on that.
And, you know, and just like you said, it did take years. I mean, so we moved to Washington in 2016 for Jess to go to school. And
pull that sucker right up there.
Oh, yeah. And she moved like 3 months before I did, because I had contracts for shows down there that I was doing. And then I moved out west, and it's a lot more expensive out here, you know. So I'm doing other work, right? Like, I was working in the cannabis industry for a bit. And then I took on another job, like doing cabin maintenance out where we lived in Index at the time, like way deep in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother moved up a year after I did, because he wanted to work in cannabis, but he had started a mobile detailing company. So I was doing all three of those jobs plus playing music at the same time. And then eventually, you know, like, the cold weather comes around, and we were mobile detailing, so weather's got to be good, right? So we shut that down. And then I was working security at a weed retailer, and then left that because it wasn't worth the money or the payment. For one, you can't have a firearm. So, you know, we got like meth heads coming in and shit, you know what I mean? So I was like, I'm done with this.
You're not a big enough dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm really not a big dude, right? So it's like, I got to get him on the jump for quickness, and that's about all I got, right?
Yeah.
And then the last straw was that cabin cleaning company, like the maintenance company that I worked for. On a 2 days notice, laid off every single employee except for one manager. For whatever reason. I mean, I guess they weren't making enough money. I mean, they didn't even tell me. I actually found out through a coworker.
Really?
You know? And I was like, well, hell, man, it's now or never, I guess. So.
And you had a band. Did you have, like, band mates that you were kind of playing with at that point?
Yeah, a little bit.
So were you guys like, hey, guys, let's give this a shot? Or?
Yeah, I was working with so the style of music that I play, I'm playing the rhythm and the lead at the same time. I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm hitting that like that low end with my thumb. So I didn't really use a bass player for a long time. So I play solo and I play with a drummer at the very least, right? And so like when you've seen me attack,
yeah,
I was with a drummer except for like the after hours stuff. You know, so playing it's just guitar and drums, and I would run like a guitar amp and a bass amp at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, so that low end through my thumb is coming in through the bass amp, right? And like that's something that we heard all the time. Like, man, it sounds so thick, you know, it sounds so full.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it took a while to kind of learn how to do that, but it's pretty specific to that genre of music, you know. And
oh, it's awesome.
Thank you, man.
So, are you? Well, so you were a year ago, you were playing quite a few shows as well as like working and doing stuff. And then you kind of like went off the grid a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So last year I was, you know, playing heavily with my drummer. And then when we released this album with a bass player too, because this album actually has bass on it. And then after the album release shows, I had nothing on the books, and my wife has been in her internship since August. Right?
What'd she do?
She's going to be a dietitian, and so lucky for me, I get a free pass to hunt.
Yeah,
you know, and so she, like, we've been on one income since last August.
Right,
and had like a bunch of extracurricular stuff come up. You know, like just shit breaking on my truck, and you know our dog got really sick, and all this stuff just added up, right? And so, you know, come November, I'm like, what am I gonna do? You know, I got to do something.
Yeah.
And you know, stocking shelves at Safeway, I would have done, right, but it wasn't quite in the cards for me. I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And a few years ago, I ran into a friend of mine in Seattle that I grew up with down in Florida, like super random. I'm playing a show at this club, and apparently he's walking down the street, and he hears this music. He's like, oh, man, that sounds right up my alley. Walks inside, and it's me playing.
That's wild.
Yeah, and I get done with the show, and he comes up, and he's like, Brett Benton? I'm like, Justin Davis, what the hell are you doing all the way up here in Seattle, dude? Like, he's like, oh, man, I work up in Alaska commercial fishing. I was like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, caught up for a minute, and didn't see him for a while after that. And then one of our album release shows we did in Pensacola, and it's like this huge sold-out show that we did, and we get done, and Justin comes up again, right? I'm like, Justin, what's going on, man? How you doing? Like, good, you know, like just got back last month in October from Alaska. And he's like, got a couple months off. And I was like, you still out there fishing? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, man, let me give you a call in a couple days. I got some questions about it. And then, you know, like, so I was one of the co-owners of Bear Country Outdoors. And so I told the guys, or I told James at least in November, I was like, look, man, this is kind of my situation. I'm looking at taking this job.
Yeah.
You know, like family comes first, you know, so if I got to drop everything else,
Right.
you know, then that's what I'm going to have to do. And, you know, still sorted through my options at the time, you know, and like I got asked about some shows, but it just wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have taken the chance like I always have, you know.
Right, right.
And I was like, man, screw it. You know,
Yeah.
I'll take the job. They wanted to hire me.
What kind of fishing?
So we were on a trawler boat. So we were doing cod and pollock.
Okay.
And for anybody listening, pollock, it's a midwater fish, and they basically like it's what you make like McDonald's fish sandwiches out of, or like fish sticks, like microwavable fish sticks, like that's all pollock. And then, you know, cod is fillet fish that you would eat.
Yeah.
And so we did, in 3 months, we did 1 million pounds of cod.
Damn.
And we did 6 million pounds of pollock.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 5 million. It was 6 million total, right?
5 million pounds of fish.
And we were short-handed. We lost our first mate because he shattered his hand with a drill that we used to drill through steel. It actually broke my thumb and like cracked it right here. I mean, I couldn't hardly even close my hand for a couple weeks, like as soon as I got out there. And it shattered his hand, so we were short-handed for...
Are you dropping pots or are you using nets?
No, we drag a giant net. I mean, it's like, it's huge, you know, and weighs a ton. And the net can hold, say, about 130,000 pounds at a time.
Damn.
Yeah. And then our boat supposed to hold like 435K. And we were doing trips doing like 455, 460. I mean, literally like taking shovels and stomping fish into the hatches.
Damn.
Trying to get them to close.
So how does that work with the netting? Like, obviously you're netting everything.
Yeah.
So, like, are you sorting through it and throwing jellyfish and everything else back?
So I have a story about that in particular. So for pollock, we don't sort anything. We just dump it right into the hatches. And it's a midwater net, so you're mainly just getting pollock in there. But for cod, you know, you're like bottom dragging. So we got like this huge heavy-duty mud gear, you know, that will kill you should something happen. I mean, like in a blink of an eye. Like that, if you're standing underneath a net and something broke, like you'd be gone.
Yeah.
You know? And so for cod, what we would do is dump the net like in the trawl alley. It's like the center of the deck, and it's got 2 walls, and it runs all the way down to the stern. And we bring the net on, and we dump it, and we have like this elevator belt that, you know, kind of comes up like this, and it goes over the trawl alley wall and flips onto another belt. And so that's where we bleed the cod. Like we had like these knives that we kind of dulled one side so it wouldn't stab through the belt, but then sharpen another, and you'd have to hit them in the gills like hard, you know? And
God, on 5 million pounds of fish.
Right. Well, 1 million pounds of cod, but
yeah.
between 3 people,
that's a lot
over 3 weeks.
It's a lot of stabbing.
It is, dude. It is a lot of stabbing. So as a matter of fact, like I just now got feeling back in my right hand part of it from my elbow to here like 2.5 weeks ago from cubital tunnel syndrome. It's like your ulnar nerve runs behind your elbow.
Yeah.
And you got to think just doing this for hours nonstop. So, and then while you're doing that, you're sorting the bycatch out, right? So like halibut and other flatfish, rockfish, wolf eels, stuff like that. You're pushing them off to the side, and they're going off of the belt and onto a chute and then back out into the ocean.
Okay.
Right. So for 3 months, we just took a beating. Dude, I mean, the weather was horrible.
So,
right?
okay, so, yeah, 'cause we got to dig into this because
Yeah.
so like I haven't watched it much in the last couple of years, but I went through a stretch where I was watching a lot of Deadliest Catch.
Mhm.
You probably get all kinds of Deadliest Catch questions, but
Yeah.
you know, the drama and some of that shit, I don't give a shit about that.
Right.
But what you can't fake is like when you see a chase boat and they're filming, you know, those fishing boats. And I've seen
Right.
those fishing boats docked in Seattle. Like they're
Yeah.
massive.
Oh, yeah.
They're freaking huge.
Right.
And they look like that pair of sunglasses in my pond.
Right.
Like and they're going up on these waves and then they're dropping, it looks like about 10 stories.
Right.
And then basically disappearing between two waves and
Yeah.
then popping back up. And a
Yeah.
couple things. One, I think it'd be absolutely terrifying because I have a major fear / respect of water.
Right.
Like I can swim long enough for you to turn the boat around and come
Sure.
get my ass.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be in that water.
Yeah.
And then number two, I get car sick just thinking about being on a boat or seasick.
Yeah.
Like I get even up in Canada bear hunting. I was like, dude, I got to be in the front seat
Right.
driving around.
Right.
So how was it for you adapting to just, first of all, just the seasickness part of being on a boat?
So,
Because some people can't even get over it. Like
Right.
they'll get deathly ill where they
Yeah.
got to be flighted off
oh, yeah.
the damn.
Like my wife and my brother, they both get motion sickness so bad. The same thing. Like it's hard for them to ride in the car if they're not in the passenger seat. Half the time I got to let my wife drive, you know? But for me, not really so much. So the first like 2 weeks, maybe like I kind of would feel nauseous a little bit. I never did actually get sick though. And I would take like Bonine or something like that to help me sleep. And, you know,
yeah, because the sleeping quarters are super small, right?
oh, dude, I mean, I slept in a bunk
Like
essentially.
prison cell.
Yeah, it felt like a coffin most of the time, but
Yeah.
yeah, you know. And
And
so,
how many guys are on the boat?
5?
Five?
It was supposed to be 5, but we were shorthanded for most of it. We had a fill in like on a few trips. You
Like
know?
on Deadliest Catches, your captain an asshole, like half of them are.
Well, I mean, yeah, yeah, but you know, it's a pretty high stress situation. You know what I mean? And so for that first 2 weeks, like I kind of felt nauseous. I mainly just got headaches, but then after that,
You were good.
I was good. Yeah.
How many hour days you working?
Oh, well, it depends. I mean, pollock is a lot easier because you're just taking the net on and dumping it and then resetting it.
So what do they do with the shit floating around in the tank that's not supposed to be caught?
The processors sort through that.
Really? And it's
Mhm.
alive when you deliver it, right?
No.
Or no? Oh, no,
No.
you're gilling them. Are you gilling both?
Not the pollock, no.
Okay.
So we keep them in water that is like almost freezing,
Yeah.
you know? And then, and like, so my buddy that got me the job, he's an engineer. So like his job basically when we had a full boat, like all the hatches are full or all the tanks are full, like he would have to stay up all night making sure that the temperatures and the pressures were correct. Cause you don't want to get downgraded for fish
Yeah.
once you bring it to the processor, but also like the way that we were stuffing the boat, those pressures are insane, right? And so, I mean, there were times where like the hatches would blow. And so at 3:00 in the morning, you know, one of us be driving the boat and somebody else have to go out there and try and get the fish back in the hatch. And, you know, I mean, it's insane. But so like that,
So you got a captain, an
Mhm.
engineer,
right.
and supposed to have 3 deckhands?
No, 2 deckhands and then a first mate. So I was a deckhand, right? Because I was completely new
Yeah.
at it.
So first mate's kind of the backup captain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then under that's the engineer.
Okay.
Right. And so the pay scale goes accordingly to such.
Yep.
And you know, but so for like the cod, right? We did 1 million pounds bleeding them by hand, you know, and some of those suckers are like 50 pounds, right? And so like my shoulder is wrecked because of it, because I'd stab and then I'd have to like lift up like a, you know, 30, 40, 50 pound fish over like this little wall to get it into the hatch right beside me. And you're doing that for 4 hours at a time, just nonstop, you know?
Yeah.
And we were taking weather that was just I mean, horrible. Like, we're breaking ice below zero. You know, like it'd be
Really?
like 20 below, and we're taking
Yeah.
15-foot waves, and you're out there with an ice hammer.
What are the months that you fished?
January through the first part of April
Shit.
on the Bering Sea. Yeah, so it was cold. I mean, like it is. So I hang out in Montana a lot, even in December, right before I left. Me and Jess went up to watch a friend's cabin, and it was during that cold snap where it got like 30 below.
Yeah.
You know, we're outside with the dog walking around, you know, and especially where we live, it gets below zero in Ellensburg. So kind of used to it already.
Yeah.
Man, up there on the Bering Sea, I have never been colder in my entire life. And I don't even know that we ever did get 30 below, 20 sometimes.
Just that humidity.
It's the humidity, right? In the wind. Like, we'd be out there working, and it'd be like 50-mile-per-hour winds. You know, and I'd be like climbing on top of the crane and shit. You know what I mean? Like no safety harness.
Yeah.
You know, and
so I mean, what you see on that Deadliest Catch, a lot of that shit is legit.
It's legit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, we're not crabbing, so like crabbing, a lot of that danger comes from the pots. Because they're 800 pounds
swinging
steel.
around.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah, but the ice they got to bang off the boat, the icing up, the ice just in the water as far as navigating it.
Right, which we were lucky to
ropes.
not have to run into ice in the water.
Okay.
For the whole 3 months. But you know, we took some serious weather. I mean, there were times where the engineer, like he's been out there for a while, like 6 or 7 years now, and he would be getting texts from people being like, because you can see all the other boats on the radar and where they're going.
Yeah.
And he would be getting texts like, what the hell are you guys doing going out right now? And we're like, oh, we're fishing. Like, y'all can stay, you know, in town, and we'll go out and make your money for you.
How consistent is the fishing for that stuff? Like, is it pretty much every time you drop your net down, you're going to pull up a ton of fish? Or did you have, like, real cold streaks and hot streaks?
We did. I mean, there are sensors in the net that they tell you when the net is spread, like when it fills up. So we were having trouble with our sensors sometimes. And so sometimes, yeah, we'd be dragging the net for 3 hours, not know what's going on, pull it up, and we'd have 40,000 pounds of fish. And it's like, so you got to think, if you can only pull up 40,000 pounds at a time, and you got 435,000 pounds to fill.
Yeah.
That's a lot of setting and hauling.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we took weather, I mean, just the whole season, brutal weather. And there was one trip where we were doing cod, and we dumped the net. Like, we were taking some pretty bad waves, and we dumped the net, and we go to walk over to the belt to start bleeding them, and we go, and the entire cod belt is crushed in half like this. I mean, broke through the deck boards and everything.
Holy shit.
And that's how we stab and sort. And now we have 80,000 pounds of fish on deck. And so we're like,
just flopping around
what
everywhere.
do we do? Yeah. I mean, up to almost my waist, you know, but you got to get it done. So we literally just stood there, stab, drag, stab, drag. And eventually, like, you'd work your way down to where you were on your hands and knees stabbing and dragging them into the hatches and trying to push the bycatch out of the way. Because with cod, you don't want bycatch, right? Especially halibut. Like, there's huge federal regulations on halibut.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that first day, we did that on our hands and knees for 16 hours, taking 60-mile-per-hour winds, like, I mean, waves coming over, you know? And then, because we weren't full yet, we had to do it again the next day. And
what's the captain say in a situation like that? He just like
got to get it done.
Yeah.
And we would get done with that. Like, the first day, it was 16 hours. The second day, it was 21 hours that we did that shit. And then after that, still had to drive the boat so the captain could sleep.
Damn.
You know, I mean, and for that whole 3-week period that we were doing cod, like, all except for a few days, we were pretty much sleeping in like 2-hour increments for 3 weeks, you know, and like, you wake up because like, the captain would be driving in the morning or something. We would basically get done working. We drive all night since the captain drove the boat all day. We drive all night, and then one of us gets the captain up at like 7 or so in the morning, and then, we'll try to catch sleep for a couple hours if we can. But if we get on fish right away, then it's like up, and you got to set the net right there, because you got to think, the cost going into it are so high. The net alone costs $300,000.
Right.
We're spending $20,000 in fuel a trip, sometimes more. And so, it's brutal. It's brutal on the body.
Did that captain own that boat? Or was he just...
I don't know, but we worked for a company.
Okay.
So, like, we kind of worked for the captain. Like, what we got paid was at his discretion, but we signed contracts before we go out.
Okay.
Right? And that's under the company that we work for, and so he's employed by that company. I don't think it's his boat because he does other boats too.
You don't have to tell me how much, but please tell me you made bank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because we lost our first mate, so we got to split his percentage for all the extra work that we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so the way that it works is you sign on for a certain percentage, but as an incentive, they withhold 1% so that you finish your contract. And then after that, you also get retro pay for the market price difference for the fish once it hits market. So, like, I'll still be getting checks for a couple months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even though I'm not working.
Oh, that's good.
So, it is, right? But 3 months on equals out to be like 2,200 hours. That's literally 52 weeks at 40 hours a week.
Right.
And just did that in 3 months.
Right.
And it's just hard, man. Like, I knew it would be hard going into it, but I really had no clue.
Yeah.
Were
any of the other deckhands brand new?
Mm-mm. Well, Jeremy was sorta. He got on last summer, like in July, so he hadn't been there much longer than I had, and he was a federal observer before then. So was Justin, my buddy, who's the engineer for that matter. And
was Justin the engineer on that boat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you were with your buddy.
Yeah.
How did you guys all get along?
Oh, great. We're the only boat where everybody's from the South.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so it's like, it kind of felt right at home in a way, except for the fact we were in Alaska.
Because I can see with, that hard of work putting you kind of in a bad mood. Then also just the lack of sleep for sure. Being that tired, like, dude, the personalities are going to come out. People are going to get grouchy or crappy or whatever. So I can totally see how the wrong mix of people on a boat could be absolute disaster.
Exactly. But kind of, at least the way it was for us, is that you kind of leave that shit on deck, and when you come inside, like, squashed.
Yeah.
Because you have to. You got to live with these people in close quarters for 3 whole months,
Did they have decent cooking, decent meals?
Yeah, we did. We'd take turns cooking, and some boats eat better than others, from what I hear. It's the only boat I've ever been on.
Yeah.
But we ate really well, which is important. My wife is a dietitian, right? Or soon to be. So the way that I eat is really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So at least that was kind of a relief. But also, whenever you lack sleep so much, I don't remember exactly what it is. My wife was explaining it to me. Basically, you're just hungrier all the time when you have a lack of sleep. And so, I even see that lately. Like, ever since I got off the boat, my sleep schedule has been, like, horrible.
Really?
For instance, I laid in bed to go to sleep at 9:30 last night. I didn't fall asleep until 2:30, and I got up at 4:30 this morning to leave my house at 6 to drive here. So I'm, but I can do that. I've always been able to do that. So I knew that part of the job, like, would not be the most difficult thing. about it.
Yeah.
But it's like you're waking up and you're having to do like these really high pressure, high stress situations like in burst. So for us to set the net takes like 25 minutes maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Hauling is a different story because you got to deal with the fish and everything.
Right.
And so you wake up from a dead sleep and have to run out there and do that kind of stuff. Like I was talking to Tier about it when I first got back, and he was like, man, he was like, you should have just went for Green Beret selection. Like, are you kidding me? Like, he was like, it sounds similar, like.
Would you go back and do it again? Like now that you've been through it, as tough as it was.
I was going to, but it was particularly hard on my wife, which she didn't tell me really until I got back, right? Because she didn't want to stress me out while I was out there.
That's pretty good of her, because
it is. And same thing for her. Yeah, like I didn't tell her some of the things that happened out there until I got back. There was an instance where we're taking like 15 or 20 foot waves. Just getting slapped around. And I'm on top of the cod net, and we have like these giant, like winch hooks, and the hooks themselves, probably weigh like 30 pounds, and they're like on, huge braided lines. And, so I'm trying to move one of the hooks from one spot on the net to another, and I'm literally on top of it like a bull. I mean, it's as tall as my shoulders at least, and I'm at the back of the boat, so I'm really getting slammed. I'm trying to get this hook out, and it's like raining sideways, and it's just brutally cold, and I'm just trying to get this thing out of there. And I think I kind of heard it in the back of my mind, but I wasn't really sure. But then I hear like, Brett, get your fucking head down, get down. And as I look up, dude, one of those 30-pound hooks is swinging past my head about this close.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I'm like, shit, and like I jump. I mean, like just completely like bail off of that net, right? And until we can get that hook under control. So the hook was hanging, and it wasn't all the way down on the ground, so it's kind of loose like this. Well, as you're taking waves, the boat does this and then comes back down, and all of a sudden the hook is like this. Right. And you keep doing that, and so it starts swinging, and it takes about 3 swings, and it's like flying.
Yeah.
There was another instance where I was actually standing under the same hook, and it was like we tie him up, you hook the hook up to like a loop, and then you winch it up so it tightens. And I'm standing underneath it doing whatever I was doing. And again, Brett, move. And I look up, and like the line it's attached to is like unraveling itself, and the hook is about to drop on the top of my head.
Damn.
And it's like, but you're out there and you don't really think about it. And for what it's worth, like I'm pretty calm and collected under pressure. Like I play music for a living, for one, and get out and perform in front of all kinds of people. I'm a hunter, and so I'm used to collecting myself before I make a shot on an animal. And so the job is kind of natural for me, right? But then also, man, like I took a stab wound to the hand right here, and then 2 days later is when we lost our first mate. And so instead of me being on light duty, I had to go back to hard duty with a hole in my hand.
Yeah.
Almost lost this finger with a cutting wheel. This one got crushed in a line with the steel frame. Like I said, I cracked this thumb. I took a puncture wound to the arm, that like I forgot about it because, you're under so much stress and adrenaline. And I remember like pulling like the steel cable up from the water, and there was a fray in the steel cable. And so when I pulled it up, it punctured through my rain gear and hit me in the arm. Damn, shit, like shit, that hurt. And then forgot about it. And then 2 days later, I go to get a shower, and I take off my shirt, and like my arm is like red and swollen. And really? I see it. I just so happened to see it in the mirror by chance. And I was like, shit, that's not good. And I walk out and I show the crew. And they're like, dude, you have to go to the doctor like tomorrow. you know, which luckily we were on our way back to town. Otherwise, I would have had to wait for days, you know.
How many days at a time were you out?
It depends. Like, if the fishing was hot, then we could leave, fish for a day or even half a day, and then turn right back around and head back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we'd be 12 or 15 hours out one way, sometimes 18.
Do you guys have to unload the fish when you get back, or does the cannery unload it?
They unload it. Yeah,
So you get a little downtime in town?
We should have, but my captain was very, how can I put this nicely?
An asshole.
he didn't believe in fun. We were known for being the boat that was not the fun boat.
Yeah.
Right. So he would make us just do like trivial work nonstop. So when all the other boats are at harbor and they actually get to have downtime and stuff, like we would be out there working through blizzards and shit just because our captain wanted us out there doing something. You know?
Wow. So what are you going to do? Are you going to go back next year? Or?
Oh, yeah. So, no. And I just let the company know that 3 days ago. And I told him it wasn't the work that bothered me. The risk to my health or my life, like, bothered me, you know. But what bothered me more is the fact that my wife did not deal well with it. And I was gone for 3 months. And so if I went back, I'd have to be gone for another 5.
So you didn't get even like 2 or 3 days off to fly home or a week off? I mean, you were gone 3 straight months.
3 straight months.
Yeah, and you're a newlywed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got married in August, man. So,
yeah, happy honeymoon. I'm leaving.
Yeah, exactly.
10 more years, she's going to be like, hey, that fishing job.
I know.
You're going to be gone for 11 months.
I know. I'm like, all right, see you.
Yeah.
I know, but it's, and the other part about it, too, is like, I'm very much the kind of person that likes to try to facilitate growth and, you know, work on projects and make things happen and work with people, you know, like collaborations and things like that. And so working a job like that was not very fulfilling, financially very fulfilling, you know, but.
Well, I can see though, like I said, I kind of leading into this, I said you kind of fell off the radar. Like, that's what happens. Right. I mean, when you're going to go do that, you're like literally stopping life entirely. Right. Whether it's personal life stuff, financial life stuff, you know, fixing up a house or doing whatever you're doing. Right. And then like professional life, because like on the side, if you're trying to build this music career, if you're trying to build your outdoor side of your career, or whatever that all looks like, boy, it's tough when it'd be one thing if you could, you know, even with people, like when I started MKC, I had a day job, but like I was off every day, you know, by 5 o'clock.
Right.
If you want to put some hours in, you know, you got 4 or 5 hours at least every evening to work on something. So like you can keep your momentum kind of moving forward.
Right. And that's one of the reasons that I left Bear Country Outdoors, because I was doing the media management. And for one, no way I would have had the time to do it while I was out there. And then on top of that, we had internet on the boat, but it was like unreliable at best. You know, well, there were days I didn't even talk to my wife.
Sounded to me like if you had downtime, you better be spending it getting some rest.
And that was the other thing too. Like if we weren't doing some dumbass project that our captain wanted us to do, then yeah, we were trying to sleep or we were cooking, you know.
Right.
You know, so there's really was no free time. And like I said, it wasn't up until like 3 days ago, maybe 4 now, that I told the company, and I was like, man, like I can't go back. And I've always been kind of a risk taker, and I know that I'm taking a big risk not going back financially, sort of.
Yeah, but it sounds to me like if in 2 years you need a little money, and it sounds to me like that, I'm guessing as hard as it is to find help these days, and now that you actually have some experience,
right?
I'm guessing if you call them in 2 years and be like, hey, I need some work for the winter.
Yeah.
You're going to get hired.
Exactly. And that's what the first mate told me. He was like, you know, just know that you always have a home here. And it was great having you, you know. Well, he wasn't there the whole time, but he was there enough, you know.
But It's also kind of crazy that if they have good help, I get it in a way, but it's kind of surprising, like that they don't make it a little bit easier to at least get through. Like
Right.
the morale boost that a week off would do
Yeah.
would be,
Man.
like, that might make that, if you had a week off every 8 weeks,
Yeah.
it might actually make it bearable, like to at least stay married.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
You know?
man, I mean, one day out of like the 90 days that I was there, one day we got to fish off the side of the boat just for us, like just regular rod and reel fishing. One day out of the whole 90 days. And it was only because we were having to wait out a storm in one of the passes. And so, and I'll never forget the feeling of how good it felt to feel like a normal person for an hour and a half,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
before being back to, you know, doing what we were doing. And
Did you take your guitar on?
no, but funny enough, the engineer had his guitar on there, and I played it all of 3 times over 3 months.
Really?
You know? Yeah, it's just like that, you know?
So how does it work with your music these days with, like, is your stuff on iTunes?
It is. It's on pretty much any streaming platform that you can find. YouTube, too. Like, we did, you know, we got videos with, like, KEXP, you know, huge international radio out of Seattle. Pretty much anywhere. And I'm sitting on some unreleased stuff. Not much, but my drummer just retired. So currently I'm only playing solo, and I'll get back to playing with a band.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like, one of the things that I really, really, truly want to do is I want to find a way to incorporate my music, like, into my, you know, love for the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but from a business perspective, right? So Tier, who you had on the podcast, you know, friend of both of ours, he
Tire. So we like to call it.
yeah, what is that tire? Cymac?
Cymac.
Yeah. And so I met him through when he was telling that knife fight story, and he said that he was fighting alongside Ed. So Ed is a friend of mine who used to own a club in Seattle. And I went to meet with Ed one day, and he's like, yeah, I'm at dinner with, you know, these 2 folks. Just come by. I'm like, okay. So I sat down for like 10 minutes, right? And it was Tier and Nicole, who Ed was at dinner with. I'm like, hey, you know, nice to meet you guys. Like, talk to Ed about a show or something real quick, and then bounced. And then a couple months later, I'm playing a show that Ed hired me to do at a new club that he opened up, and Tier and Nicole show up. And so me and Tier get to talking and, you know, kind of tell each other like who we are. And I was playing some benefit shows for Mission 22 at the time, the veteran suicide organization. And so once I found out Tier worked for Black Rifle, I was like, well, hey man, if you guys ever want music for an event, like, you know, I'll do it for free, at least to start, you know? And so I was like, I'll do it for free because, like, logistically it gets complicated and expensive, right?
Yeah.
And so he was like, yeah. He was like, if the chance ever comes up, sure. You know, didn't really talk to him much after that. And then, like, 6 months later, I get a call from him out of the blue, and he's like, hey, man, you want to play the Total Archery Challenge down in San Antonio? It was like 2 years ago.
Yep.
I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. You know, and then played a bunch of them after that.
Yep.
You know, I mean, and that's, like, I owe so much to Tier. You know, he introduced me to you guys, for one, you know, well, sort of, you know, but, you know, the folks at Loophole, the folks at, like, Everly Stock.
Right.
You know, the rest of the people at Black Rifle.
Right.
You know, and some of the coolest friendships that I have, and especially some of the coolest collaborations that I have, are because of that.
Yeah.
You know, and the Total Archery Challenge, I mean, it's folks shooting bows. It's a thing that everybody there loves the outdoors, and that's why everybody's there.
Yeah, it's a cool event. It's really, really good people.
It is.
Even just the vendor kind of village, it's like everybody at all those booths. It's just
Right.
like they're kind of quote unquote competitors, but
Right.
it's like a big family.
It is. It is, man.
Tyr and Nicole are both. Well, Nicole. I like Nicole. I don't really like Tyr, but everybody likes Nicole.
Right.
She's also prettier than Tyr.
This is
Pretty
true.
much better than Tyr in every way.
In every way, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, Tyr's awesome.
Yeah.
Spent hunting camp with Tyr and consider him a good friend. He's
Yeah.
he's a badass guy for
He's
sure.
a great dude.
So I think he's deploying here shortly.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's headed over to Iraq.
I didn't know he's like old. I didn't know like they sent like old people to war.
I
but
know. Well, that's why I asked him. I was like, "The hell are you doing deploying, dude?" Like, I'm like, "Haven't you been in the Army long enough to retire?"
Longer than
at
you've been
this point?
alive.
Yeah, damn near. I mean, yeah, yeah. And but they're so great, and like you said, it's really like a family, you
Yeah.
know. Like so, in Snowbird, the year before last, I run into Dudley, you know, and the weekend before I think was
Park City or
Big
yeah,
Sky,
Park City.
wasn't it? Or Park City, yeah.
Yep.
So at one of those events, I put in for like a bunch of raffle tickets for this bow that he built, and you know, like all custom and stuff like that. And he's like, I run into him, and I'm holding raffle tickets, right? So when I'd play music for BRCC, like I know that they're running around like crazy, so I would just like work too.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like serving people coffee out of their tent and stuff like that, and I'm like walking around handing off raffle tickets on their behalf,
Yeah.
you know, like 20 minutes before I have to be on stage. And I run into Dudley, and he's like, "Hey, man, you know, what's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, you know, just passing out these tickets, you know." He's like, "Oh, what for?" I was like, "Just to get people in the door, I guess." I was like, although I wish they were raffle tickets for a bow. I was like, dude, I spent like hundreds of dollars on raffle tickets. It's the only thing I've ever put in for ever.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't win. You know, we laughed about it and joked and I thought nothing of it, right? And so fast forward to later. I can't remember if this is before Tyr had me learn this song that he could propose to Nicole to.
I remember that
event.
Big
Yeah.
Sky. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was either before or after that. Anyway, so I'm sitting side stage, and it's Evan and Tyr and Dudley and maybe Matt Best too, or he was close by at least. And I'm just sitting side stage while they're doing the raffles and stuff like that. And Dudley calls me over. He's like, "Hey, Brett, come hold this bow for everybody and show it to everybody real quick." I'm like, "Okay, sure." And I'm sitting there and I'm holding it up. And he's like telling the crowd about it. And he's like, "So, Brett, you were telling me that you put in for like a bunch of raffle tickets for the sister bow to this one and you didn't win it and blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Yeah, you know, still didn't think anything of it." And he's like, "Well, how do you like this bow?" And I'm like, "What?" What? You know? And he ends up giving me like this completely custom bow, and it's a shooter too. I mean, it's John Dudley, right? And to this day, that is still one of the nicest things that anybody has ever done for me. You know, and coming from somebody who's never really been like gifted a lot of stuff or anything, you know, so it really spoke volumes to me. But it goes back to like the thing about family at these events and community. You know, community is it's super important to me. I have a nonprofit down in Pensacola that I'm the vice president of, and it's called the Campfire Fund of Florida is the legal name, but the Campfire Fund for Men's Mental Health.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple years ago, well, a year and a half now, give or take, it was November of 2021. A friend of mine, Ryan, is the president, and you know everybody else in our friend group. Friend of ours, Elijah Steverson was his name. He was a really just incredibly talented music artist and songwriter. And a week before his wedding that I was like flying in for, he blew his brains out.
Damn.
You know? And so me and Ryan were like gonna throw to this benefit for his widow, essentially. You know, Kat, she's a friend of ours. And so fast forward, and like we started this nonprofit for men's mental health because it happens all the time. Like people don't talk about their shit.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I think that you should be tough, but I think that you should also like, you know, open up to your people and in your community. And I don't think those like have to be mutually exclusive. You know what I mean? I think that you can do both. And so anyway, we raise money to pay for men's therapy, like counseling with a psychologist, essentially. Because also therapy is super expensive.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't go. I haven't been, so I don't really know. But from what I've been told from folks, right, that it's really expensive. But that, you know, it's that's the thing. It's giving back, and just having that sense of community.
Yeah, and
you know?
insurance, I think sometimes with that, depending on your plan, also only offers a certain amount of sessions.
Right.
You know, so I think especially people who might be a bit financially strapped, like maybe they do go a little bit and they get to a point where they're out of, you know, sessions to go to.
Right.
So now it starts dipping out of their own pocket. And it would also be, I would imagine it would be pretty tough to be sitting there in a therapy session trying to talk about or express how you're feeling at the very same moment. Let's say right before you went to Alaska, right? You're struggling financially. You've got some things that heap up. And then, you know, let's say you were at the same time also in therapy and you're sitting there in therapy. And really what you have going in your mind is a ticker of how much money this is costing you.
Exactly.
You know, so you're not really maybe necessarily even in the right headspace sitting there. So that's no, we've seen too many people here well forever, but recently especially with our veterans, you know, like you know, with Ready Gunner, with Neil Curry, you know, sometimes it's people that appear to have it all. You know, like Neil had, you know, one of the most beautiful women on the planet as a wife and beautiful kids and amazing business.
Right.
All the like truly killer friends that were all these Black Rifle guys, and, you know, it just appears to kind of have it all. And, you know, commit suicide. Yeah. And it's not like it just from the outside, from a Instagram perspective, looks like that person has it all, but you just don't know what they're dealing with.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's like Elijah, you know, like he was a week out from getting married, and the last I'd seen him, he looked happier than I'd never seen him. Yeah. You know, and Ryan said the same thing, you know, but
you don't know. It's hard to know what's going through somebody's mind, but that, you know, there's tragedy just kind of hit the guide world. You know, Cole Kramer's friend up there, Derek. Yeah. Guides with him, you know, his wife just passed away and she's got a 3-month-old baby.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was actually, well, when you drove in, I was on the phone with Cole. Yeah. Talking to him about it. He's the
nicest guy, man.
Cole sucks.
Well, nice to meet.
He's a good bear guide. Nobody really likes Cole for his brown bears, but no, Cole's amazing. Cole's one of the most generous people that there is in the industry. I mean, you know, getting off topic, but I mean, you know, with like what he did with Jonathan Blank, taking him hunting. Yeah, exactly. Carrying Jonathan to the top of the mountain to shoot a goat, and then lined up a sheep hunt for him. And Cole's absolute heart of gold for sure. Yeah.
Speaking of bears, you just got back from bear hunting with Dudley up in BC, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I'll get to that. But real quick, but with that, with Derek, like the one thing I said to Cole was like, and we agreed on is, you know, he needs, at some point here, he needs to make sure he's talking to somebody. Right. You know, because, you know, especially when the phone calls start dying down and life just begins to take over and like, this is life now. Yeah. You've got this little baby and it's going to be stressful and busy and tough, and especially being a guide is a tough business to be in just at all.
It is a lot of time away from home.
Similar to like what you just did, where you're gone for 3 months or 2 months.
Exactly.
So yeah, he needs people that are in situations like that. Definitely need to reach out. But yeah, no, you were talking back to John. You were talking about John. Yeah, we just went hunting with him in British Columbia.
Yeah,
and just had an absolute blast at camp.
Oh, I could imagine, dude.
John invited us to go up there. He's been going up there for years.
Right.
Kind of the same outfit, same area.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually completely random because when he invited us to go, he just said Northern BC.
Right.
All right, sounds good. Well, as it turns out, it was right where my uncle lives, and right where I lived for the first 5 months of my life.
No kidding.
I mean, I was born in the U.S., but as soon as I was born, like I was a week old, my mom and dad moved to Canada.
Right.
They were going to try and immigrate up there because my grandpa was up there and my uncle, and it's kind of the far north, and like,
yeah,
it was a pretty I wouldn't say undiscovered, but like there weren't a lot of people up there.
Right.
And I think that they were drawn to just the remoteness and all that. But that was when the exchange rate and the economy and everything in 81 was really bad. So they had to come back to the U.S. Couldn't afford to stay.
Yeah.
But it's just like odd that, you know, we had been up there just a few years ago with my family visiting my uncle, and I had a picture of Hank fishing in Cheslada Falls in the river.
Yeah.
And it's where we stopped and had lunch the other day, was Cheslada Falls. So,
man.
like, we were literally hunting in that same place, which is kind of wild. But
yeah, it looked gorgeous, man.
Oh, saw a shitload of bears.
Yeah. Dude, the bears that you took were, like, top notch.
Yeah,
man.
they were good. They were really good. Yeah, we saw, I don't know, 10 to 15 bears a day at least. Wow.
Damn.
Just bears everywhere.
Yeah.
And saw a lot of moose, and it's just beautiful country. It's just huge. It's like, it's literally like hunting from like here to Spokane or farther.
Damn.
Like, I mean, and there's nothing. It's just logging roads for you could drive for hours, and it's just logging roads. And so it's just so vast, and you don't have hunting pressure. You know, did we see another? We might have seen another hunter.
We drove past with Brandon 2 gals that were hunting. That was it.
Yeah,
wow.
Sounds
like a dream.
A week of hunting. Yeah.
Damn.
In just a massive area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. So yeah, we shot a really nice black bear, and then a really pretty kind of color chocolate, but she's kind of like grizzly bear color on top, and then she faded. So from like super light on top, almost blonde.
Yeah.
Just down to where like by the time you got to her feet, she was just really dark legs.
Yeah.
Didn't know she was a sow until after I got her, but she was dry. She didn't have any cubs or anything like that. I actually stalked her for quite a ways, and had she had cubs, we'd have known. But sometimes it's hard with bears to tell.
It is, man. Last year, same thing. I actually shot a bear that was a sow. Shot her in October, right? So all the berries are all gone. And, you know, like I was kind of getting worried, like, because bear is like primarily what we eat in my household. Right. And especially fall bears, like leave the fat cap on them, you know, and got all kinds of, I could talk about that for hours, dude. It's like,
because a lot of people don't eat bear. They're like, you can't eat bear or whatever. And like both of my boys' bears, we've eaten.
Right.
We make mostly sausage out of it, to be honest, but we did some roasts. They were good.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, so when I was with Bear Country Outdoors, I mean, that's what, bear hunting is the whole reason that started, right? The passion for bear hunting and predator management, right? Like that podcast you did with Kate Smalls, is her name? Yeah, loved it, dude, love it. Predator management is so important, right? Also, personally, I just find bears really fascinating. So not only hunting them, but then like eating them, I think they taste the best, and because they're omnivores, like I think they're more nutritionally dense as a protein, you know? And then, like, shooting fall bears, you know, they have fat on them. And so I process all my own stuff, so I'll cut down to where there's just, like, a little bit of fat, like a fat cap, just like a beefsteak. And I put out, under Bear Country Outdoors, I put out one video that was about processing bears for more than just sausage. And the other one was like eating medium rare bear meat, which is like the big no-no.
Right. You got to cook out the trichinosis or whatever they say.
Right. So you can take a sous vide machine like that temperature-controlled water bath. My brother put me on it. He's like, the FDA at 144 degrees, the FDA says that trichinella is killed instantly. He was like, so if you put bear in the sous vide at 147, let's say, if you tempt every square inch of the meat, should be safe to eat. And I was like, He's like, you want to try it? I was like, hell yeah, I want to try it. And so I brought over like some bear tenderloin and we did it. It changed my life.
Really?
It's the best tasting meat I've ever had, period. I mean, it's bears in the fall, they gorge themselves on berries, right? And so when you cook a steak well done, or like if you're eating sausage, you're not really tasting it for what it is. But whenever you can eat bear, like even cooked medium, you can taste that sweetness of the berries. And it's like a sweet beef almost. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, dude. It's like.
So what? It's a sous vide machine, you said?
Yeah. So sous vide is like so you have like a box, so to speak, a container, right? And you have a metal temperature.
He's pulling it up here on the TV.
Yeah, there you go. So like that Innova precision cooker right there. So it goes in that container, and the sous vide machine itself, like it circulates water at a certain temperature and it never goes above that temperature.
Huh.
So I can leave it in there for 6 hours and it's never going to go over 147.
Interesting.
And then you just take it out, re-season it, sear it on both sides, and like you vacuum seal the meat before you put it in there. It's not direct to water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you sear it and then take it out and eat it. I mean, it's yeah, and so.
And you're pulling that out of the freezer, and then I guess you could. Well, it's all vacuum sealed in the freezer, so you just pull it out of the freezer, and you could probably thaw it right in that, huh?
Yeah, I do all the time. A lot of times I'm on the go, so I'll take something out, put it in the sous vide real quick, and you can do it all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can sous vide chicken, deer, pork, beef, whatever. Corn on the cob. I mean, like the list goes on and on.
So the rendering fat thing, how do you do that?
So the way that I learned was you take off the fat and you cut it into like roughly like 1 inch squared cubes. And then you put it in a, like a pot or a boiler or whatever you have, right? I'd prefer to do mine on the stove so that I can control the temperature a little bit better so it doesn't burn. Mm-hmm. And then basically you throw in all the cubes in there, turn the temperature on, and the fat melts down essentially. And then all it'll leave is like these little like cracklings, right? And then you have the liquid. So then I take the liquid, I take the cracklings out, I take the liquid, and I like strain it into jars so that it's super clean. Like that's one thing, man. I get so anal about my processing, dude. Like what should take me a certain amount of time, like processing my own animals takes me like twice as long because I'm getting like every hair and every little piece of dirt and every little piece of silver skin that I can.
My wife and I do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. It's worth it, really.
Yeah. So with the bear fat, are you running it through like a coffee filter or a cheesecloth?
Yeah, coffee filter. Cheesecloth works too. I've never done it that way, but I take a coffee filter and a funnel, right? And so the coffee filter sits in the funnel, and then I take a ladle, just do a little bit at a time.
While it's hot.
Mm-hmm, while it's hot, yeah.
And then at that point, you don't have to refrigerate it, do you?
No. I freeze mine just so it'll last longer. I don't really know what the shelf life of it is. I've heard it can be like 2 years or something like that, but,
I've never done that. Hank's first bear we got, we had to pack way, way out. And then, like, if I go back up bear hunting to Canada, I won't fly again. I'll drive. Yeah. Because, like, they kept the meat and stuff, and they're donating it and doing stuff there locally with it. But it's kind of a bummer. Like, I would have I could have just had my Yetis and just brought it home. But
Yeah.
I brought home the hides and the skulls in my luggage, you know.
Damn.
But we rolled the hides up and froze them.
Yeah.
And then I just hauled them home in a Yeti Panga bag, frozen.
Right.
Worked out great. But it would have been nice to drive and take coolers, and then we could have we could have hauled out, you know, all that fat and stuff. But the next bear I want to try that because everybody raves about cooking with bear fat.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's the best. I mean, I cook steaks in it. Jess will make biscuits and pie crust out of it. Like a lot of that's like the common stuff, right? So I make I'm from the South, right? So I'll make like the roux for gumbo, and instead of using olive oil or, you know, butter or whatever, like I'll use bear fat instead, you know. And you know, I mean, the list goes on. We're constantly trying to find more ways, like bear fat mac and cheese. That's another one, you know, just like finding whatever we can to replace with it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? Like we made what did we make? Oh, Jess made bear fat chocolate chip cookies. They tasted better with regular butter, you know. So, I mean, so it's not always 100%.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, and as far as what Jess tells me, it's a pretty healthy fat, all things considered.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do now if you're not going to go fishing? You're going up bear hunting right now.
Yep, I'm up bear hunting right now. Start this week, and it's pretty low pressure, man. Like I said, I'm gonna be seeing friends all over Lincoln County, so I might hunt a little bit here and hunt a little bit there. Like I can come back in the fall if I don't fill my tag. Not worried about it.
That's where John Hayes with Hayes Taxidermy. I met him on Saturday. He's got my hides.
Yeah. Dude, John's the best, man. I'll definitely be going to see him too.
Yeah.
And so there's a company that reached out to me recently called One Outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
They're based in Washington, and it's not like your typical like media-based outdoor company. Like they'll do some of that stuff from what they were explaining to me, but it's more like they have a for-profit side and a non-profit side, right? So the non-profit side will like, you know, take like pastors and veterans and you know, folks that get outdoors and heal their mind or whatever it is that they need to do, right? Whether it's like hunts or fishing or whatever, hikes, you know. Right. But then the for-profit side, like they're putting together a database of guides from all over the world so that you can basically go and just search a hunt through them, right? All different kinds of stuff. Or, you know, they'll sell products, their own products or other people's products, you know, like currently I say we because I just accepted a job offer from them like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Right. But so like, for instance, like we work with Loophole on some stuff currently, like Truck Vault is another one that they're working with. And they're still kind of going over it with me. Like I'll be doing like strategic partnerships. That's something I kind of did with Bear Country, right? Like, you know, I would reach out to you guys, for instance, you know, about stuff for Loophole. And
are you working remote then? You staying in Ellensburg?
Some remote, some.
Where are they located?
Up in northern Washington, like northwest.
What made you end up in Ellensburg?
My wife and her school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then her internship is it kind of bounces around between Kittitas and Yakima counties, depends on where each rotation is. But
so once she's done with school, you're free to kind of go wherever you want.
Yeah, and man, let me tell you, I've been coming to Montana since 2017, and the moment that I saw Montana, I was like, this is where I want to go to die. Like, I mean, it is my favorite state, and I hate to speak about that over my home state of Alabama, right? But Montana is my absolute favorite state that I've ever been in, and we want to move here so bad. And the only thing that really has been stopping us is like her school.
Yeah.
You know, and she tried to get her internship here in Montana, but generally speaking, the university takes people into the internship from the university first.
Right.
So she got put on a waiting list, and she got accepted right away into Central, where we're at now.
Yeah. And
So,
how much longer does she have on her intern?
She's done in June.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but she'll probably work for a year, maybe 2, just to get the experience.
Yeah.
I'm like, waited long enough.
Yeah.
Can we please just move now?
Yeah.
But we'd
Well,
love
cool.
to live here, just don't know where yet.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, awesome, dude. What were you able to pull up those on your phone? Were you able to get those?
Yeah, let's see if this Bluetooth works.
Let's try this.
Yeah.
We'll have to have your music lead into this podcast.
Right on, man.
Listen slow.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Turn it up even more. There you go.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, like the quality. Not trying to brag. The quality sounds
No,
good.
dude, it sounds really good. How come you're not singing? So, do you write all your own music?
Most of it, like when I'm playing with the band. But when I'm playing solo, it's more true to the nature of like where the music comes from.
Yeah.
Because it's a dying art.
Yeah.
Especially this particular genre of like blues music, country blues,
Yeah.
And so when I'm playing solo shows, I'll often use it as like an educational tool. Talk about where the music comes from, It's like these old farmers in Mississippi, a lot of them like hunted and fished just like I do.
Right.
Like my buddy Cedric Burnside, his grandfather was R.L. Burnside.
Okay.
They were from Holly Springs, Mississippi, and R.L. is like one of like the hill country blues legends, right? Toured all over the world, and stuff like that. And like Cedric just won his first Grammy last year, but Cedric, dude, he's just got a big old property in Mississippi, he'll go out and hunt and fish and do whatever,
Yeah.
and
So you were saying earlier, and I think you got off track. How are you wanting to combine the music into the outdoor space?
oh, yeah. So I'm still brainstorming that a little bit, right? I think that music licensing would be a good place to start. I did the intro music for Bear Country Outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
Did the intro music for Tears podcast. Although that's not quite outdoors related, but so stuff like that.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, I could sell a song to Cabela's for one of their commercials, right? Like it's kind of like where you want to be with something like that. But also, if it was, I think there's a way to do it from a media standpoint too. I just don't know how
Yeah.
yet.
Well, you got some time to figure it out. How old are you?
Right, 31.
31.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because like you see people bounce along and struggle along with the music stuff for a long, long time trying to figure it out, and it's like life takes you through this adventure,
Right.
and then it's weird how like it can just one day just pop.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. It really can.
It's and it's cool to see that when it happens, but it's also such a cool thing that if it never does actually just pop, it's just a cool thing to be able to share. My cousin plays, and Andrew plays guitar. He works
Right.
here. You haven't met him just yet, but it's just a cool skill to have.
Right.
Like it's cool to be able to throw a football or to do whatever, but it's like
Right.
it's something you can sit around like you can play to your grandkids someday.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. It's taken me to a lot of really cool places, and I've done a lot of really cool stuff because of that.
yeah.
Part of the reason I'm sitting here right now is because of that.
No, 100%.
and
I
so-
mean that's what John and those guys were most interested in that evening was like hearing you play and learning and
Right.
like and it's also because you actually have such a different sound, especially for like
Right.
up in this part of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's not a big blues scene here,
Right.
Well, that I know of. But
Right.
I'm
No,
also
there's-
not the
there's
most
not.
culturally deep
No, it's-
person.
no,
I'm
and
from a
it's-
logging town and not a lot of culture going
Right.
through the veins up
Right.
here, but.
Right.
But I got to see, that's one of the coolest things about making knives though, was from the time I was a kid traveling to knife shows. It took me to Atlanta, Georgia, and New
Yeah.
York, and Paris, and all these different places that people that grew up in these areas, my classmates, they didn't get to do. You
Right.
know, and you get to meet people at all walks of life, and really music does that same kind of thing. Just takes
Right.
you down all these different avenues that a normal person just working a day job wouldn't get
Yeah.
to do.
It does. It really does, you know. And so with that said, like I hope that in the future I can continue to do cool stuff with it, you know, and it's always the whole idea is like, you know, just upward and upward,
Mhm.
right? But like you said, if it does not get to that point, I'm happy with what I've done
Mhm.
with it already. I'm very blessed, man. I really am. I'm extremely thankful and so blessed to know the people that I do and to have done the things, you know, that I've done,
Yeah.
right? And so, you know, like I think honestly the most exciting thing about it for me, I mean, there's like the adrenaline of being on stage, but it's the people,
Yeah.
man. Like, you know, like community and collaborations mean so much to me. You know?
I say that all the time. And, you know, kind of like with your music, like I made knives for 30 years before I started MKC.
Right.
Like, you know, I was 39 when I started this. So, like,
Yeah.
you keep paying your dues, you keep, you know, figuring out life, and there's the whole personal side of life. And I worked a lineman job, and I
Right.
did this other stuff, right? And then you kind of like, and I always had this like idea and dream of what I wanted to do, but I couldn't financially do it. I wasn't just set in a lot of different ways to be able to make that happen. But like,
Right.
man, you don't know, you know, you're still young. So like, you know, you might bounce around doing this and that for 10 more years. And then all
Yeah.
of a sudden, you know, you figure it out. You know,
Yeah,
it's,
exactly.
but the people side of like of what I'm doing with MKC is absolutely, I've said it 100 times. It's my favorite part.
Yeah.
You know, like you mentioned Leopold with Kaylee or Tim Lesser, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the Army F people or Eberly Stock people or
Right.
Sitka Gear people. I mean, I could name, and a lot of them are actually competitors, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Snyder with Kafaru, and then there's the Stone Glacier guys and
Mm-hmm.
Eberly Stock. Like, it's, to me, it's about the people behind the brands, and you end up
Right.
figuring out that these really big companies actually have a few key people that are just cool, regular people.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
cool people to hang around.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. That's really what I find a lot of across the board, you know, is it, you know, like I always say that like we all shit brown and bleed red, you know what I mean? And so it's like you just act accordingly,
Yeah.
you know, and like some of my favorite people, you know, are pretty well-known people, but they're also some of the nicest people
Right.
I've ever met. You know, nobody likes a famous asshole, you know what
No,
I mean?
I could give a shit.
Yeah,
Like if you're
exactly.
if you're famous but you're a douchebag, like I don't
Yeah.
want to spend time with you.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah.
know, and so, you know, I hope to keep bringing my love for music and the love for the outdoors closer and closer until I can marry those two
Right.
somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's kind of can be a difficult thing to do. Like, you know, I can play events.
Right.
There's music licensing. You know, I'm currently trying to think of other ways that I can
Sure.
do something like that. You know, I might try to do it through this new company, you know,
Yeah.
that's asking me to come on.
Well, we might have to get some of your music sometime when Henry's editing up a film. Maybe we can
There
have
we
some
go, man.
playing in the background.
There we go. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, but
Dude, I would appreciate the hell out of
do you want Henry? Do you want me to sing on the track too?
No,
that.
that will tank. whatever we put out.
Man, Henry said hard no.
Yeah.
Actually, I've never heard you sing, so
It's
you might have
terrible.
some-
You're never gonna hear me sing. No karaoke
we're
here.
gonna get you two on
Yeah.
the track.
Dude, man, I'll be at a bar and like people will be like, "Oh man, Brett, like you sing, you should get up there and do karaoke." I'm like, "Absolutely not." Like I do it for a living. The last thing I want to do is like, you know, relax and like be doing that too, you know.
Yeah.
But
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate it. Where can people find you, follow you?
yeah.
Get
So
your music.
they can look me up personally. Brett Benton, it's BrettBenton. On Instagram, it's Brett Benton _. My nonprofit is the Campfire Fund on Instagram, and then the new company that I'm starting to work with is One Outdoors. I think it's _outdoors, if I'm not mistaken.
What about buying music?
For all the
checking
music,
out your music.
yeah, Apple Music or iTunes, you know,
Okay.
I mean, Spotify, Amazon Music, pretty much wherever you can get music at.
Yeah.
It's on there. At least it better be on there. Otherwise, I need to give a distribution company a mean phone call, you know.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
so,
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it.
hey, thank you for having me,
Thanks
brother.
for coming by.
Oh yeah.